Hello, B1 family, and welcome back to the YouTube channel, The Big Black American Secret. My name is Daniel Jackson. Today I want to show you two clips from two movies. Django, the movie with Jamie Foxx in it, and Formula 51 with Samuel Jackson in it. So I'm leaning on fair use. This is for educational purposes only. I don't want any copyrights or strikes or anything like that. The particular goal of this particular video is to prove to you there were Aboriginal Americans, which you and I are, because we're in America, and also Aboriginal Europeans, which some of you are related to. They told us, that we had the last names of our slave masters, and in some cases that's probably true, but in other cases, there was a thing called the headright system, where I'll get into it in the video. Right now, I want to read the goal of this channel. The goal of this channel is to build an unstoppable army of knowledgeable black melanated people in America and around the world that understand that we as melanated people have one enemy worldwide, and that enemy is the system of racism, white supremacy. Our mission through education is to replace this evil system with a system of freedom, justice, and equality as laid out by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. We will need your help in building this knowledgeable army. You can help by subscribing to this channel, by donating to this cause through Cash App or PayPal, and by sharing the videos you watch here and any knowledge that is shared. In doing so together, we help fertilize the mentally enslaved, colonized minds of black melanated people worldwide, creating the perfect mental conditions for our children to grow up in a better, more balanced world. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's video will be in the description. Every black person on the planet needs to see that video. And the reason we have to destroy the system of racism, white supremacy, it is because of this system that you think that you are the descendants of West African slaves. The out of Africa theory was given to you by a racist white person. You know what I'm saying? Black people did not come up with the concept of out of Africa. Okay. That being said, there were two forms of slavery. There was chattel slavery, which was slave for life. You didn't own your person. You were owned by someone. And then there was indentured servitude. Indentured servitude, you owned your person. You were only contracting out your time for your labor. For your services. Usually the contract was for 7, 10, or 14 years. A copy of that contract was held in 2, maybe 3 places. You had a copy. The person who was buying the service had a copy. And there was a third copy usually held at the courthouse. The corner of the contract was bit off or perforated, so when you brought the 3 pieces together, it would be proof that they were of the same, for the same contract. Okay? What they do not talk a whole lot about in our history is indentured servitude, because the thinking is that only Europeans were indentured servitudes, or white people were indentured servitudes. And when we say white, we think of white-skinned people. So you'll learn in this video and the other videos that Europeans were both black and white. In fact, the majority of Europeans look like you and I were black. I'm going to prove that to you. It's an old document from 1751 from a very credible source. He's an eyewitness account. You don't get any better than evidence as a firsthand eyewitness account. And that person is Benjamin Franklin. He's the same person on your $100 bill. Okay? What I was alluding to earlier is about your last name. A lot of us have European last names. My last name is Jackson. That's a Scott-Irish last name. I was doing some digging, and I come up with some very interesting facts. Take a minute, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and hit all so that you're notified when I make another video or go live. And share this video out, okay? If your last name is European or Scott-Irish or Irish or any of that, you owe it to yourself to listen to this video and, again, other videos that I talk about on this channel, because we have been utterly mind-fucked into believing a lie. You understand what I'm saying? And the reason we've been made to believe that lie is because that lie continues. It allows white-skinned Europeans control over America and Europe, when in fact Europe belongs to the Aboriginal European. America belongs to the Aboriginal American. You and I are the only true Americans. Everyone else here is foreigners. Okay? Now, a lot of this is going to go right over your head, and that's fine, but just open your mind up. Matter of fact, let's just do a little experiment. Hold this circle above your head. This circle represents all I know about all I think I know. It also represents and lets me know that there is still more for me to know. I got this illustration from Dr. Ray Hagens. It's a pretty good way of adjusting your mind so that you can understand, that you can deal better with cognitive dissonance. It allows your mind to understand that, hey, I have still more to learn. I don't know everything. You understand what I'm saying? We're all in a continual process of learning. So take a minute, empty your mind, and anything that sounds interesting to you, please research it for yourself. Okay? Real important. So here's, I kind of want to start this off on your last name. There was a thing called the head-right system. Okay? And I have a definition pulled up for the head-right system from Wikipedia. And I'm going to turn my phone around and show it to you. And then I'll explain more about what it is. This is the Wikipedia. And it's talking about head rights. And I'm going to read this part. It says, overview of the head right system. Okay? The head right system began in the colony of Jamestown in 1618 as an attempt to solve labor shortages due to the advent of the tobacco economy, which required large plots of land with many workers. The disproportion, that existed between the amount of land available and the population led to a situation with a low supply of labor, resulting in the growth of indentured servitude and slavery. I talked about that a few minutes ago. The head right system also served to attract new settlers who had already been living in Virginia were each given 2 head rights of 50 acres of land. Immigrant colonists who paid for their passage were given 1 head right. And individuals who subsequently received 1 head right each. And individuals would subsequently receive 1 head right each time they paid for the passage of another individual. This last mechanism increased the division between the wealthy landowners and the working poor. Head rights were given to heads of household, and because 50 acres were accumulated for each member of the household, family had an incentive to make the passage to the colonies together. What that is saying is the government would give you 50 acres of land per family member. Women, your wife, your children, you understand what I'm saying? Your parents. This 50 acres of land per every person in your household. You would have to put them down as a servant or an indentured servant as part of that contract to get the 50 acres of land per family member. So on a lot of old documents where you'll see the husband or the head of household, let's call him Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson and all of his relatives would also have the last name Johnson. We were taught that those people who were under that were his slaves, when in fact those were his family members in a lot of instances. Now, don't get me wrong. In slavery, a person took on a slave, it's a good chance that the slave would take on that person's last name. You understand what I'm saying? But in indentured servitude, the person wasn't a slave. He was just a contract worker for hire. He had his own last name. He owned his own person. You understand what I'm saying? So that being said, if each one of your family members are put down as a servant. So if you was to look at one of those things today in the year 2022 and you say, oh, well, Mr. Johnson must have owned all of these slaves because it says indentured servant or servant. No, those were his family members. And that's why a lot of times when that person died, a will was produced and those people would receive land because that's their father. It's an inheritance. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that they put a slave down as a family member. You know what I'm saying? We just been misdirected on purpose. And again, it's because of the system of racism, white supremacy. Now, So the Harriet system. So you have a European or Scott-Irish last name because your great grandfather was an Aboriginal European. He came here as a settler, was given 50 acres of land per family member, and that's that's where your people came from on that side of the family. You understand what I'm saying? Now, me personally, I've learned that on my mother's side, her mother was Sioux Indian. Her father, my grandfather, was Blackfoot Indian. And my uncle also told me that we have German and Irish relatives in the bloodline as well. He said we like mixed up like mutts. You can join my channel and we'll watch a few of them other videos to get you caught up on that story. You understand what I'm saying? And so learning what I learned about my mother's people, you know, Aboriginal Americans, I want to see about my father's line. I didn't grow up knowing him. I kind of got acquainted with him at the age of 17. Him and my parent, him and my mother divorced when I was very young. And I've lost contact with him a couple of years back, so I'm hoping to reconnect with him soon if he has not passed. But anyway, but his last name is Jackson. I did some research. Jackson is a Scott-Irish last name. So the more you dig, the more you learn, right? And so I was watching the movie Django, and I saw something in it that I think you might find interesting. And then I also was watching a movie, Formula 51, with Samuel Jackson in it. Again, something you're going to find very interesting. Now that we're on this subject matter, you understand what I'm saying? So in this movie, in this video, again, fair use, I'm going to play a little bit of portion of both of those videos. You know, but I'm going to take a minute. The name of this YouTube channel is called The Big Black American Secret. And the secret is you are an Aboriginal American, like I mentioned a little while ago. You are not the descendant of West African slaves. The story, the transatlantic slave trade that we were taught in school or indoctrinated to believe was actually taught to us in reverse. They took our people from here and they sent us to different parts of the world. And they also flip-flopped us here around in the States. I was doing some research while I was researching Indian slavery here in the Americas a few months back. And in fact, I've got quite a library of books on the subject. You understand what I'm saying? So I've really dug into Indian slavery, and what I learned was the first slavery in the Americas was Indian slavery, but in our history classes or in our indoctrination classes, they told us that they couldn't enslave the Indians. The Indians would run away. They could handle the heat and hard work, and so they had to go get West African slaves. And come to find out that that was a lie. They had Indian slavery here started in 1492 when Christopher Columbus came here and started doing what he did in the West Indies. Okay, and like I say, it's probably about a year now when I got turned on to this and I started doing research. There was a definition which I wish I would have copied at the time, but I looked up the word, I looked up the phrase. It was called the International, and I haven't done this in a while, the International Indigenous American Slave Trade. The International Indigenous American Slave Trade. And that definition, when it was pulled up, and again, this was about a year ago, and I shared it at that time as well. Okay, I'm gonna read what comes on the screen, and it still is very eye-opening because this is something we were not taught in school. We were told that the Indians that they want us to believe were here, they couldn't enslave. They ran off. They had to go to West African slaves. But I'm gonna read a portion of this. And again, I typed in what I typed in, and this is what came up. This is Wikipedia, slavery amongst the indigenous people of the Americas, right? And I'm going to read a little bit of it, the important part that I think it says. Where it says, Okay. And again, this is the International Indigenous American Slave Trade. It says, and from the 15th century, which is the 1400s, to the 19th century, which is the 1800s, between 2 and 5 million indigenous people were enslaved. Okay? 5 million indigenous people were enslaved. That's their estimation. When they told us that Indians, they couldn't do it. They couldn't enslave the Indians. So they had to go get West African slaves. So again, the transatlantic slave trade, we was told it actually happened in reverse. They took our people from here to Sierra Leone, West Africa. That was a pirate hub where they exchanged slaves, to Spain, to Europe, to France. And then again, they switched us around here in the States. They take family members from Florida, put them on a boat, and send them to New York. When they got off that ship, they were West African slaves. Okay? Again, this is new for a lot of y'all, but it is absolutely historically true. All verifiably documented in books. But again, we've been told not to look in certain areas, misdirected, okay? So that being said, doing the digging on my father's last name, I come to find out that the that Europeans look like you and I. There's a document that I'm finna read for you right here, and I read this on a good portion of my videos because it's so eye-opening and so telling. And this here is from the Founders Archive, and it's titled Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind, and it's written by Benjamin Franklin. Okay, I'm gonna go down to about the last two paragraphs. Oh, before I do that, I want to show you something real quick about you being an Aboriginal American, and open your eyes up to another thing. Now, here's a 1-cent copper penny. This 1-cent copper penny it's identical. It's a little shiny, but it's identical to the color of the back of my hand. And it's a good chance it's close to the color of you. See, we are all just varying degrees of brown. On one end, we're light-skinned, approaching white. To the other end, it's blue-black, mahogany. But we're all shades of brown. In fact, the description that was given to the people in the Americas by Christopher Columbus, the people became before him and after him, gave a description of the people they saw. So much so that it ended up in a dictionary in the year 1828, and that was the Noah's Webster's Dictionary. I have a portion here pulled up. Here's that book, and I'm going to read this right here, okay? I'll read that portion right there. This definition tells you two powerful things. One, it's going to tell you who you are, black man and black woman. And it's going to tell you why you've been going through hell in America for so long, okay? It says American, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals. That means the people from the dirt of this continent. Aboriginal, like the Aboriginals from Australia. There was no mass migration out of Africa. That is a white supremacist lie, okay? Or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. That penny is made out of copper. But now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. I'm going to read that last part again. But now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. What that's telling you is your identity as the only true American is trying to be stolen by the Caucasian race, the Europeans born here in America. Every time, everybody's got something in front of that American here in America. African American, Chinese American, Japanese American. But when we think of white people, like the Irish, the French, we don't say Irish American. We don't say French American. We just simply call those people Americans. See, the goal was for them to steal our identity, and they use the Mongolian breed of Asian to do that. They forced us to believe in these schools they called schools, but they're really indoctrination centers, to make us believe that the people the people they saw when they first came here. And they also called them the red man. You understand what I'm saying? Because again, this definition tells you that the people they saw when they came here were copper colored. We are copper colored. I'm gonna prove that to you again. I just showed you the penny. but I'm going to go a little deeper just so you get an understanding. And the next time you're in Walmart, I want you to look around at all the black people you see. You're going to discover something real and powerful and important. They are brownish red. We are the red man that they've been talking about all those years. It is not the Mongolian breed of Asian. Those folks have always been a minority tribe, and they normally skirted the cold areas about Alaska. These folks were Eskimos. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm telling you the truth. Take a look at your 2020 census. Where it says American Indian, look at the very bottom. It says Eskimo community. Okay? Again, the Europeans, because of the system of racism, white supremacy, used that minority tribe to say that those people were the indigenous people here, when black people were here by the millions. And I'm going to prove that to you again in another document. So you are an Aboriginal American based on the 1828 definition of American. It's going to take a while for that to seep in because, again, you've been so indoctrinated to believe that you're one, a black man, this color, when every day you see yourself that you're brown. And more important than that, you're brownish red. You're a red color. Again, when you get to Walmart, look around at all the people, or any grocery store with a lot of black people in it. You're going to see that your people are a red color, a brownish red color. It's amazing. When I was turned on to this and it finally seeped in, I went to the grocery store and I was like, holy shit. Holy shit. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? You're going to have the same experience. I guarantee it. Now, I'm going to read another document, and it's his, the one I was finna read before, Benjamin Franklin. Let's go down to the last two paragraphs. And this document is important because it's going to tell you, it's going to prove to you that Europeans look like you and I as well. The majority of Europeans look like you and I. In fact, white people, like today, are a very small group of people. They cast the illusion that they're the majority by calling us the minority. It's a pretty good head trick, but it's true. These people numbers are in such, they're in the negative birth rates right now. Right now, it's more of them dying every year than being born. That's why they freaked out. That's why they overturned Roe versus Wade. A segment of the white population is like, hey, whoa, people. We are dying off. We got to stop killing these babies because that's adding to the problem. When abortion was really a ploy to get rid of black people, and it's worked against them. You feel what I'm saying? But let me read this here. It says, and since detachment of English from Britain sent to America will have their place at home so soon supplied and increased so largely here, why should the Palatine Boers, that's a slur title for Germans at the time, be suffered to swarm into our settlement, and by herding together establish their language and manners to the exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our Anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or customs any more than they can acquire our complexion? So he's pissed. They're going to send all these black people over here from Germany. Germans look like you and I back then. Which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionately very small. All Europe, very small. All Africa is black and 20. 20 means brown. All Africa is black and brown, and it still is today. Context clues, people. This ain't rocket science. Asia, chiefly tawny. Yes, Asians look like you and I, but they got the Asian phenotype. Back then, of course. Now, system of racism, white supremacy, the lighter skinned Asian is considered the Asian. Again, they made us think we're all from Africa. Okay? America, exclusive of the newcomers, which are the pilgrims, them, wholly so what? Black and brown. We were here by the millions because this is home for us. We've always been here. You understand? And in Europe, the Spaniard, the Italian, French, Russian, and Swedes are generally what we call a swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also. Swarthy means black. It's a black complexion, you see. Also, the Saxons only accepted who with the English make up the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. I could wish Their numbers were increased. He wished it was more white-skinned people. And while we are, as I may call it, scoring our planet by clearing America of woods, and so making this side of the globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of inhabitants in Mars or Venus, why should we, in the sight of superior beings, darken its people? See, them Germans look like you and I. Darken its people. Why increase the sons of Africa? Why increase the sons of black and brown people by planting them in America, where we have so far an opportunity by increasing all blacks and tawnies, of increasing the lovely white and red. The red man. We were already here. Okay? But perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country, for such kind of partiality is natural to mankind. You see what I'm saying? Europe was majority black. Small portion of those people were white, skinned. And it's another one of my videos that go into what happened to the Aboriginal Europeans. Very important. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and hit all so that you're notified, people. Because it's time that we now understand the fullness of truth and never be allowed to be lied to again. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Okay, so Europeans, black. Now, oh, also too about the see if I got it pulled up here. The about black people are the red man. Check this out. This is a graph of pennies. Okay. Grading the color of copper coins. Okay. How to tell what color your copper coins are. This top layer right here says red. Those are the newly, freshly minted pennies. This middle piece right here says red, brown, reddish brown. You see that? And down at the bottom, it says brown. Now listen to what I'm going to read. This is going to blow your mind. To accurately grade copper coins, you must be able to describe the color of copper. Over time, the brilliant orange-red color of a freshly minted copper coin, such as a Lincoln set, will diminish and fade to a deep chocolate brown color. Who's deep chocolate brown? Would that be you and me? As this degradation of color occurs, there will be varying degrees in which both red and brown colors exist simultaneously on the surface of the coin. This color designation only applies to uncirculated copper coins. All circulated copper coins are assumed to be brown. The Aboriginal Americans were brown. They were you and I, our ancestors. I hope that's abundantly clear right now. Okay, so the movie The Django. We'll start with the Django, because again, this scene, now that I know what I know, it makes more sense to me, and I could point that out to you. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm gonna make it bigger, and I might have to go back just a hair. Let me see. Okay. And I think I got the sound on. I thought I had it sound. Yeah, sound's on. Play. Okay. Now that music you hear. Right. Okay.
Well done, Kelly. Excuse me. Excuse me, ma'am. Could you please stop playing Beethoven? Take your hands off the harp.
Okay, he said, could you please stop playing Beethoven? Take your hands off the harp. Can you please stop playing Beethoven? And before that, he was having visions of that slave being torn apart by dogs earlier. Okay, keep watching.
Doc, you can't go in there.
Steven.
You ain't got no business going in there.
Let it be. Just a little upset, that's all. I'll handle this.
hot cake. I don't go in for sweets, thank you. You brooding about me getting the best of you, huh? Actually, I was thinking of that poor devil you fed to the dogs today, D'Artagnan. And I was wondering what Dumas would make of all this. Come again. Alexandre Dumas. He wrote The Three Musketeers. Yes, of course, Doctor. I figured you must be an admirer. You named your slave after his novel's lead character. If Alexandre Dumas had been there today, I wonder what he would have made of it.
You doubt he'd approve?
Yes, his approval would be a dubious proposition at best.
Soft-hearted Frenchie.
Alexandre Dumas is black.
Did you hear that? He said Alexander Dumas is black. See, this doctor in this movie, of course, it's not a true story, but he is from Germany. Yeah, he's from Germany. And that's why he was, one of the reasons he wanted to help Django. If you saw the movie, his Django's wife in this movie, her name was Broomhilda. She had a master, her mistress, or the person who she belonged to, was a German lady, and she named this the woman played by Kerry Washington, this German name. And so the guy from Germany instantly was drawn to that anyway. But anyway, long story short, he said two things. He was irritated. Okay, first he was seeing this black guy being torn to bits. That was, and then this lady's playing Beethoven on her harp. You know, he's from Europe. He knows about black Europeans. Beethoven himself was a black man. I'll prove that to you in a minute too. And then, of course, the writer of The Three Musketeers, a black man. You know, so in the thing, he's coming to America, and black people are pretty much slaves. So, see what I'm saying? The people who write these movies, they know something. They don't want us to know it, but they know something. You feel what I'm saying? Because history bears it out. Okay. Now, let me go to the other movie that I was telling you about. Before I go too far down the line, I told you about Beethoven being a black man. Excuse me.
It's called Demand Africa. I'll just quote it. It's important to reference how Beethoven was considered in the public eye.
This lady is a music teacher,
Following the issuing of the Emancipation Fund.
And she started off talking about Juneteenth, and the title of the video is Juneteenth and Beethoven as a Black Man. You can probably Google that if you want to watch the whole thing. And I'm gonna have to go back to where I was because I hit the button and screwed that up. But anyway, let me see if I can find it real quick.
Today, I shared about Emancipation Day, Juneteenth. It's become a national holiday. And I wanted to share
Okay, I think this is it.
something that I came across from, it's called Demand Africa. I'll just quote it. It's important to reference how Beethoven was considered in the public eye. Many texts have uncovered that refer to Beethoven as a Moor, M-O-O-R.
As a Moor.
Fact one.
As a Moor, and we're led to believe that Moor meant back then a you know, like a sub-Saharan African.
It's the first time in our history, something that I came across. It's called Demand Africa.
I'm trying to go back to where I was.
How Beethoven was considered in the public eye. Many texts have uncovered that refer to Beethoven as a Moor, M-O-O-R. In this era, Moor translates to Negro, before the term was extended to include Arabs at later times. The German translation for Negro is also Moor. A renowned Beethoven historian, Alexander Thayer, can be quoted as stating, Beethoven had even more of the Moor in his features than his master, Joseph Haydn. Many people suggest that the Moors introduced the classical music style to Europe, evident by the hint that Beethoven's musical master was also of Moorish African descent.
Now, we're going to have to dodge the hijack. When you say Moor, you instantly think of Africans. Because again, Moor just really meant you were a black person. And now that we know that Europeans were black, we have to, again, continue to not be misled by the hijacks. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, long story short, Beethoven, he was a black European. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why he was irritated when he was hearing that harp. You know, so that scene takes on a whole new meaning when you know a little bit more. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the movie where what's his name? Samuel Jackson was in. It was called Formula 51, and the title's right here. And it's right at the end, and you're gonna notice what he's wearing. He's wearing a kilt. It's an Irish or Scottish kilt. I think it's Scottish at this time. But so. Okay, so you see he's wearing the kilt, and it says, you know, anyway. It's not going off right now. It's going to be another scene after this, so we're just going to pause. Let me wait it out for a minute.
Mr. McElroy, you are a genuine McElroy like myself, you say?
This is the tartan of my slave master. I now claim his castle and his lands for my own.
I see. But will you not now be making a pact?
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. McElroy. An outstanding round of golf.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Well, I can tell you it's the first time that's been seen on the 18th screen.
Okay, so you basically get it. So he, I think early on in the movie, he had got a letter letting him know about his Irish ancestry. And so he, you know, he needed a couple of million to go, I guess, buy the castle, something like that, or he got it, it was inherited. But he was of the mindset that that was his slave master's last name. His name was McElroy, Elroy or McElroy. And so that's why he mentioned about, you know, the slave masters. That's the slave master's name. And I came back here to take over his shit, basically. Long story short. But knowing what I know now, that might actually have been one of his great-great-grandfathers. You understand what I'm saying? Because, again, I read to you about the headright system. You know, people, it's crazy. You're on the right channel. The universe has led you here for a reason. And you've got a lot to know and a lot to learn. Join this channel, hit the bell, hit all, so that you'll be notified when I go live or make another video. But again, those things were very interesting when I couple it with what I know now. You understand what I'm saying? So I believe that pretty much was what I wanted to point out to you in this video. I'm not sure what I'm going to title this video, But you know, I'll title it something. And again, if you haven't already, hit like, thumbs up, or whatever y'all do with that there. But hit like and share the video, and then again subscribe, hit the bell, and hit all so that you're notified when I go live or make another video. So again, folks, if you are a black person with an Irish or Scottish last name, take a minute and watch the other video on my channel about that, you know, and get caught up. I show you an old document of a ship's log when they sent enslaved Irish and Scottish people to America. You know what I'm saying? To win their freedom, because in Europe they were going to be killed because they was prisoners of war. I ain't gonna get into that because I'm gonna end this video, but you know, appreciate your patience. Thank you for watching the video, and be one.